Hey everyone, it's Bentley here, and today we will be talking about The Last of Us Season 2, mostly the finale, but I will include some thoughts from the entire season. Just to preface this video, I am a fan of the game. I'm not much of a gamer, so I've never played it myself, but I have watched multiple playthroughs of the first and second game of The Last of Us. And this is mostly a rant about the last episode, and I wrote my notes while I was watching the finale, so these were my real-time thoughts. So immediately starting off, I want to talk about some things from before. I don't like the fact that they changed the scene with Ellie telling Dina about Nora. They added a lot more than that was in the episode. I thought that it was unnecessary. In the game, it was just a shorter scene. Like Ellie had like a whole rant or whatever she started going on in the episode, and I'm like, what is this? Why are you talking about this? So I thought that was clearly unnecessary. I also don't understand why Dina got shot in the leg at the end of the last episode. Like, she's already pregnant. Like, do we need to put her through even more? She's already pregnant. She doesn't need to also get shot in order for them to get their point across that Dina is in danger. And also, like, when Jesse shows up, he's talking about Tommy, and I'm like, why just isn't Tommy there? Like, I don't understand. Like, they had to go and get Tommy, and then it was like, well, why didn't all of us go get Tommy? Because we were gonna go get Tommy and then come back here and then leave. Why didn't we just all go get Tommy and then we could all just leave from there? And also, you're not even sure if Tommy's gonna be there. But I love Jesse, so not too much on him. And I was thinking at that point in the episode, did they really just skip the entire aquarium scene and just do the scene with Nora? Like, are they taking out the scene where, like, in the game, where Ellie comes in and she talks with Owen and Mel, and you know what happens if you've seen it. We're going to talk about when we get there later. But these were my thoughts as I was watching it. So, like, are they just going to skip the entire aquarium scene and just do the scene with Nora and have Ellie feel bad about that? Like, she doesn't feel bad because, these other people that she killed, she feels bad about Nora. And I also want to talk about Nora a little bit because I really like Tati Gabrielle. She was in You, which, like, we just watched, and she's in Sabrina, so I love her. And I wish she would have got to do more in the role. I really feel like she had nothing to do, and it's like, you got Tati Gabrielle for this, for her to do nothing. Like, she looks great, she's there. And I didn't buy that scene, just so we can talk about that scene a little bit, because it wasn't in the finale, but we can talk about that scene a little bit. I didn't like it. I think we're going to talk about it more, but Bella Ramsey's performance is just off for me, especially as this character. Like, maybe she's good in other things besides, a little bit she was in Game of Thrones. I haven't seen her in anything else, or them, excuse me. So I just didn't really think that they did a good job expressing the anger that's needed in that scene. Like, in the game, when Ellie is like beating her, and like, they don't show all of it, but you can just see like the anger, and that's the animated character's face. And I felt more anger and frustration and just pure rage in the scene in the game than I did in this show. And Bella Ramsey is young. Only maybe they just haven't had that life experience to feel those emotions and be able to portray it in a believable way. But I'm like, Tati Gabrielle's doing such a good job, and she's really not even doing anything. And they did the scene differently, and they decided to put in the spores into that scene, even though the spores weren't in the show originally. But now they decide that it makes sense because they said, we can't have it in the show because it doesn't make sense. That, like, if it's airborne, then it's airborne. It wouldn't just be in secluded places. But then they decided to put it in the scene anyway. I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because if there's spores here in this hospital, then why weren't there spores in the subway station that they were at in earlier episodes? I'm like, that just doesn't make sense, and I don't like that. Completely unnecessary to me. But, like, moving on, there was in the previous episode where Dina literally stopped Ellie and was like, it doesn't matter what Joel did, he didn't deserve that, and if it were my family, I would have hunted them down to the ends of the earth. And then as soon as Ellie tells her what Joel did, she's like, well, I want to go home, and like turns around and like, I'm like, what? What? That is so weird. Because like, he literally just had this whole speech, like last episode or episode before that, telling us that like if it was my family, I would hunt them down in the first. It doesn't matter if someone hurt them first or they hurt someone else first. It wouldn't matter. And but then you find out what Joel did, and now you're like, it matters. So I didn't like that. That wasn't in the game. It's like, why are you adding unnecessary things that make these characters less likable? And I'm going to talk more about Dina later because I had problems with a lot of her changes from the game, and that's in this season. So I didn't like that. In the game, Dina wanted to go home because she was pregnant and like she was sick and she couldn't fight. And the fact that in this version, she was like, if you want me to go with you, then I'll go with you. If you want me to turn around, then I'll turn around. I'm like, don't put that on Ellie. Don't put that on Ellie. You're pregnant. You have a baby. You have something that you need to protect. You need to go home. And you should just say, I want to go home. That wasn't in the game either. So I'm like, I don't know why they added that. And I really didn't like that. And moving on to another thing that happened in the episode. I love Jesse. And we all know that Jesse's gonna die in this episode. So I feel like they decided to give him this stupid backstory where he explains that him and Dina were never really in love. And I'm like, why? They don't need to have never been in love for her and Ellie to be in love now. They could have just been in love at one point and then fell out of love. But they've also like kind of messed themselves up because they had the scene earlier where over the course of the 3 months, because at the beginning of the show they decided to do a 3-month time jump that also wasn't in the game, and I also don't like that point that they added. But because they decided to do this 3-month time jump, they had to make Dina and Jesse hook up again after their breakup so that she could get pregnant. And I'm like, if y'all aren't in love, y'all were never in love, why were y'all hooking up while Ellie was in the hospital? She's supposed to be so in love with Ellie, but you're telling me that Ellie's sat up in the hospital and Dina's out there getting her back cracked? Like, that does not make any sense to me at all. And then Jesse has to have this whole story about how he was never in love with her and he was in love with somebody else the whole time. And it's like, why? They could have just been in love and fell out of love. They were in love, but they're not in love anymore. They were together for like a couple years, I think they said. Out of this 4-year time jump from the first season to this season, they were together for a couple years of that. So it's like, why can't they just be in love? And here we can talk more about Dina. The entire scene, like after the subway where they're in the movie theater and she's like got the gun on her and she's like, I'm gonna watch you all night, make sure it happens. And then I wake up the next morning and like Ellie's immune, and or later on that night, I don't know, I wake up and Ellie's immune and like Dina looking at her and she's crying, and then she's like, I'm pregnant. And then they make out and then they start like smooshing. If you guys watch Dylan in Trouble, then that's where I got that from. But I'm like, what? That is just, it was so weird. And I'm like, I don't like that they changed all of that from the game, because even in I think episode 1 in the game, Dina and Ellie went on patrol together, and that's when they were smooshing for the first time, and that made way more sense than to move it out to now. And it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel earned. Like, I would rather them just be together, and then instead of going through this whole thing where like Dina's being like, oh, I'm not gay, and it's like, we already know. It's like, why are you pretending? Like, I don't understand why they're doing this, because I thought maybe they were going to try to like amp up the love triangle between Dina, Jesse, and Ellie. Everybody loves a good love triangle. I thought, oh, we're going to do more with the love triangle because they're changing this from the game. But no, Jesse never loved her. So I was like, what is going on here? I didn't like any of that. I think it was handled in the game way better. And people didn't like the second game. I know some people didn't. I enjoyed it when I watched it, and I watched it multiple times, so it's something that I enjoyed. There are problems with it, and I thought, this show would be a good chance for them to fix some of those issues that people had from the game. But instead, they made everything 10 times worse. So this is 10 times worse than the game. And the game was already very divisive. It's like, I don't know why they decided to change so much from game to show. They didn't really do that in the first season. Like, they changed some things, but it was more like adding on to things, adding more depth to it. In here, it's just changes for change's sake. Like, with Dina, her backstory is different from what was in the game. She was supposed to be a little girl who walked in on her dad killing her mom, and then she killed her dad. So, I don't know why they changed her backstory in the show. Just some random person killed her mom and sister, and then she killed that guy. And it's like, why couldn't that guy just be her dad? And like, maybe they got infected, and she misunderstood the situation, and the dad had to kill them. We don't know. But it's like, I don't know why they would make that change from game to show. I really did not like that. It just felt weird. It just felt weird to me. And we can also talk about the episode before this, which is the flashback episode. It's supposed to explain more things about them, but they just gave us more and more unnecessary scenes. I hated that they took out Ellie and Joel going back to Salt Lake City Hospital. When we saw that area in the first episode of the game with Abby and her crew planning to kill Joel there. So we know that they have a set to go to, or a place to go to film that scene. So I don't know why they didn't film that scene. And there was also the scene with her and Joel talking on the porch, which, I mean, that scene should have been at the very end of the show. And they're planning to stretch this out into more seasons, which I really hope that they don't. I hope the next season is the last season, because this needs to be the last of it. Okay, this needs to be the last of it. It needs to be done. So I really hope that they don't do that. But that scene is supposed to come at the very end of the game. We see that scene at the very end of the game. So why they changed it to put it here was like, we know why. Because they needed more stuff to do, I guess. They didn't think that you guys would wait that long to see that scene. But I think the scene of them from the hospital would have been a lot more impactful. And then it would have made more sense as to why she was so upset at him at the beginning of the game. At the beginning of the show. But they didn't do that. And I just found that so odd, and I absolutely hated it. I feel like I could barely get through this season because there's just so much that I didn't like about it. And I have absolutely no clue how next season is going to work with just Abby's side of the story. And if they try to stretch this out into another season to do the California stuff, I will probably lose my mind. Next season is going to be really difficult with them just doing Abby's side, because this story was difficult just doing Ellie's side. Like, we need Joel, we need that male presence in our lives. So it wasn't good for him to not be there. And it's going to be even worse with Abby, because we don't like Abby. She killed Joel. So it's like, I don't know what's going on. And I think the game just did a better job of spending more time with the characters. Like, the season felt too short. They decided to do just 7 episodes compared to like the 10 of last season, or 9 or 10 of last season. So I'm like, and there's just so much stuff in the game, like the shoot 'em up stuff in the game, that is just completely missed here. And I think that we need that. And I think this version of Ellie is just so unlikable compared to the game version. It could be actor, it could be character. I feel like this attitude that they gave her is basically how Bella Ramsey must act in real life. I feel like sometimes with actors, they only know how to act if the character is really similar to themselves. And that's what that is giving to me. Like, maybe they only know how to act as themselves. So having to act as someone else or act like something else or someone else is just difficult. Someone who has a completely different personality type to them, it could be just difficult for them to do. Moving on, I was like, why was Ellie on Scar Island in this? I was like, that didn't happen in the game. Why did she go on Scar Island and get strung up just to leave? I thought that was so weird. And when the bell started ringing, it's like, why didn't they just leave her tied up? Like, how long would it have taken for them to tie the string down to something so she could have gotten, strangled? And then she just got back on the boat and left. I was like, what was the point of that? I absolutely hated that scene as well. So Ellie just seems like a much less experienced fighter here compared to the game. Like, have you not been training at all? Like, we see her training, and I'm like, were you not prepared for, like, actually having to do this? because she just felt so much more inept here than in the game, and younger. I don't feel like enough time has passed between season 1 and season 2, because Bella Ramsey still feels the exact same from season 1, and there's supposed to be a 4-year time jump. She doesn't feel any older, the character. I'm moving on to the scene where Ellie shows up to the aquarium, and I'm like, this show must be broke, because why does the aquarium look like this? Like, if you've seen the aquarium scene in the game, it's like at an aquarium. Here they were in a storage closet. I'm like, why are we in a storage closet and not in an actual aquarium? Could y'all not afford to go to an aquarium? It's supposed to be a big thing in the next season. It's a big set piece. So why is it not here? So Mel is the girl from Marvel's Runaways. I haven't seen her in anything since, so it was nice to see her here. We obviously didn't get to see much of her. I guess we'll see much of her when we go on to Abby's side, but I'm not looking forward to going on to Abby's side. And when I was watching this scene, I really had to pause it, because I thought this was so ridiculous that Mel got shot in the neck, and Ellie is supposed to cut out the baby after shooting her in the neck. I was like, absolutely not. See, every little thing that they change makes the story so much worse. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? Ellie's gonna cut the baby out after shooting her in the neck. She don't know how to do that. This baby's gone. I'm sorry, Mel. That wasn't in the game. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? It was so stupid. In the game, Mel attacked Ellie after she killed Owen, and that made way more sense as to why Ellie would kill her. So I mean, this was just absolutely ridiculous, and she got no information from it at all. No information at all. And then, we're back at the movie theater, and Ellie's talking to Jesse, and Jesse says, I think you set the world on fire to save me. And Ellie's like, yeah. And I'm like, no, I don't think she would. I don't think she like you, Jesse. I think she wants you to be gone, so she ain't gotta worry about you. Honestly, that's how I feel. I think they only added that scene because he was about to die, and they killed him the exact same way they did in the game as they did in the show. And I remember a lot of people were complaining about how they killed him in the game because it was so sudden. And it was like, well, we really got to spend enough time with Jesse, and I was already dead. And it feels like we spent even less time with Jesse here because we didn't get the gameplay aspect of it. And I like his actor a lot. Like, he was in Beef on Netflix. I thought that was a great show. So I liked him, and him dying like that really made me even madder that they made him have a whole speech about how he was never in love with Dina. So now Ellie just cannot, she doesn't feel bad about it at all. And it's like, oh, come on. Continuing to that scene, I was like, love isn't there. Love's not there. Okay. Wonder why love isn't there. Love plays a big part in that scene. When we cut back to that scene later on in the game, love plays a big part in how that scene plays out. So I'm assuming that he's going to be there when we get to that. Like, I watched another reviewer and they said that maybe they haven't cast Lev yet, so that's why he wasn't there. But I'm like, oh. And I'm going to take a little bit of time now to talk about Abby in the show. I'm upset that she's not muscular. I am. I'll just say it. Even in that scene, I was like, her arm looks so small. She's wearing a jacket. Y'all couldn't have padded up the jacket a little bit. She looks so small. I mean, she needs to be a physical enemy, a physical presence, and she doesn't have that in the slightest. In the first game and in the first season, I was on team Joel was wrong. I think that he should have let Ellie get killed so that they can get the cure, especially this version of Ellie. I think that that's what she would have wanted. I think that was the right thing to do. And like, I understand, because people are like, oh, when you're a parent, you don't understand why he made the right choice. And I'm like, I feel like it's like, I understand. I would have been more reasonable about it, maybe talked about it, and maybe like let her talk to him first. Like, I agree with all that people said, but I do think that he was wrong for what he did, and I like the idea of actions having consequences. So he did something wrong, in my opinion, and those actions have consequences, like him being killed. So I don't have a problem with that. I just don't like how it was done. I didn't like the extra monologue that they gave her that wasn't in the game. The character just felt angrier in the game, and I can understand why she was angry. Like, you killed my dad, and that's something that anybody would be angry about. Like, my dad isn't doing anything wrong. He's trying to save all of humanity, and you just shot him. So I understand why she was upset, but it did feel more cruel here than in the game. And I feel like it lacks the depth that the game had. And I'm like, did they just have Ellie look like she was about to cry, telling Abby that she killed her friends? Why would they add that? Like, I literally hate that so much. Because in the game, she's more like frantic, like, oh, I don't know what to do, like, oh my god. And here, she's like, about to cry. I'm like, what? Like, saying I'm sorry? I'm like, what? I hate this performance by Bella Ramsey. I hate it, especially right there in that scene. Like, in the game, it felt like she was just doing what she had to do to protect Tommy, because Tommy was right there and she had a gun to Tommy's head. But here, it's like, oh, I'm about to cry? About to cry. Okay. Speaking of Tommy, I didn't like the change in the beginning where he left after her with Jesse. In the game, he left first, and then they followed him there, and I think that works better because Tommy's thinking, I'll just go and deal with it, and then they can stay back. So I don't like that they switched it, and I thought the voting thing was completely unnecessary. But I did like when Jesse was like, hey, I voted no. And I was like, yes, Jesse, you are a king. You should vote no. I would have voted no too. Because it doesn't make any sense. Like, let's get a team of 16 people or something to go there and kill the people who killed Joel. No, we got stuff that we got to do here. It happened. A lot of people died that day. I thought that was a great episode too. Episode 2 was the best episode of this season. I thought every other episode was pretty meh, but I really enjoyed that episode. I saw people complaining about that episode too, so I thought that was a good episode. I had problems with the scene with Abby, but overall I enjoyed that episode. I liked the horde scene. I thought like them overthrowing the town, that also didn't happen in the game, but I thought it was very cool and I enjoyed it. Yeah, the voting thing was completely unnecessary, and I would have voted no too, Jesse. Okay, did they really just end this on a shot? Like Abby shooting Ellie? Like, was that how it went in the game before it cut to Abby? Maybe it did. And I feel like this was a hard sell, even with the game, to just cut to Abby. We're going back to day one. It's like, we just went through all this, and now you want me to go back to day one and see it all from Abby's perspective? But in the game, it happens immediately. In real life, with this TV show, we're gonna have to wait 2 years, and I don't think people are going to. I don't care. I don't care. It's like, I don't care. I already know how the story's gonna end. Well, I'm like, I do not care to see it, honestly. And like the characters in the game, like every side of the story in the game, I thought was a lot better. I can already tell this actress, she's not gonna have it. I'm sorry, I can already tell. I like Tati Gabrielle. I'm happy to see more of her. I think I plays Falcon in the Captain America movie. We had to see more of him. I like Mel, obviously. I said that earlier, so we'll see. But I feel like it's gonna be a mess, and I feel like no one is gonna come back for season 3 with it just being Abby's side, especially with this already being significantly worse in the game. I don't think the show can make it. They had a chance to fix a lot of the problems people had with the game, but instead they made everything worse. I finished the finale of The Last of Us Season 2, and I don't think there was one thing that I liked about it. And I'm going to let this be the end of the video. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts and opinions, and I want to know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Let's have a discussion about it. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let's talk about it. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.